You guys know me. I'm Becky, obviously. We are in the live stream. Thank you for being here with me at Psychology Lab on Tuesdays because I really, this is my favorite. This is my favorite part to talk about. I mean, love talking about everything with the market, but psychology, I think, is, it's a big deal for me because when I really dug into my own, then I got more successful. And so I think that's why I embrace these topics so much more because I know that they mean something to me and have meant something to me in my trading journey. So welcome. PA immediately get better. Or does it take until mid-January? Price action? DC? Yeah. The price action is terrible this week. In holiday weeks, Christmas and New Year's, the volume is way light, and a lot of traders will not be trading. Big money makers will kind of back off a little bit, and so the volatility is less, the volume is less, the moves are less, and there's more choppiness, more chopped out. So I definitely, if you're newer to trading and this is your first holiday season, sometimes there's big moves around Christmas and New Year's, but more often the sideways chop is what we see from my experience anyways. So definitely that, this is a good time, honestly, to kind of dig into psychology conversations because there's a little less good price action, I would say. And then there's the whole energy of closing out a year, figuring out what you want to do with the next year and where you want to go with that. And so I was thinking about that when I was putting together my class for today. And I was thinking about the different ways you could approach goals and processing your end of year and what you did, what you want to do differently, how you want to move about your journey. Each of our journeys is different in our own. And so I was thinking about the concept of decision. And I don't know if you guys have ever really thought about it in terms of your trading, but I love the way that it reframes how we approach our entire trading system. And so I really want to talk about it today because I think that when we really decide and commit to who we want to be as a trader, then we can get a little bit better. We can get more positive, more power, more focused, more consistent outcomes, more consistent risk management moving forward. Yeah, great point, Bay Fisherman. I think Monday is when we'll see the better volatility back in. Good tip. So thank you guys. Thank you for being here with me on this Tuesday afternoon, even though it's a holiday week. I'm really glad you guys are here. And so for this topic of decision we're going to cover today, I would like to say that decision could be seen as like a sort of line in the sand, how you decide what you want to do, how you want to tolerate your behavior, how you want to approach your trading system. And then that is what you do. You don't go on the other side of that line. You stay on the side that you have committed to, who you want to be, how you want to show up, how you want to execute, even when there's a lot of outside noise, there's a lot of outside emotions, there's a lot of potential extra thoughts in your mind that are not actually really helpful for you. And so I want to kind of give us something to think about today in terms of how we can just set ourselves up for success this coming year. So let's get into it. Specifically, why does this matter for trading? So most traders know what to do. If you've been a trader more than a few months and you've got a mentor behind you that has shown you some skills, you can figure out an edge in trading that is repeatable, has a positive expectancy in terms of trade outcomes. And so you can create a trade system and trade setups that you know how to execute on the earlier side of your trading journey. You can figure out how to take a good trade essentially. But committing to being super consistent with those trade setups is where it gets muddy for a lot of us. And I think that there are the performance gaps with that in terms of decision, I guess. Are you leaving yourself open to the flexibility and the gray choices when you start executing, or are you really dialed in? Because I think that most traders don't fail from a lack of information or a trading system that has a positive expectancy. But more so, it's when we have a trading system and an edge that provides us with solid trading opportunities, are we ready, fully present, and fully committed to capitalizing on them in the way that we intend to is kind of what I feel like has the most power. Oh, you're okay. Welcome, Fabrina. We just got started, my girl. Okay, so traders, I think, more often will struggle with inconsistent decision-making to honor your system when the pressure hits. So when the candles start printing, right? On a Sunday, we're going through our system, we're back testing, we're fine-tuning, writing out our notes on how we want to trade. But then a New York Open Monday morning, the candles start printing, the volatility starts heating up, you start feeling pressure. That's when it gets trickier. That's when we start to flex with what we do because, our knowledge and our system is strong. But if that's all we needed, we would all be profitable, essentially, right? The gap is psychological and decision based. So that's kind of where I want to aim with this conversation today. So let's get into exactly what I'm saying then when I say decision. So decision, I think, is not a new word for any of us, right? But can be like discussed as a conscious commitment. You choose it in advance when you are clear-headed and focused on the problem or the journey or the process in front of you. You decide on how you want to approach it. And it doesn't have emotion behind it. It's more factual, more logical, more focused and data-based, data-driven. It's not a preference or a feeling. It's not, I'm going to try to do XYZ. It's like a pre-commitment. It's a decision you make before market opens, before your trading session opens, because in the moment when the market is open and it is your trading time, emotion starts to negotiate with every rule that you have open to interpretation. Like if in your mind you're flexible with, I want to get in kind of around this level if I see that it looks good. That's a super gray decision that gives you tons of flexibility with kind of doing whatever you will, which sometimes works. Like that's going to win some of the time because it's not without any basis behind it, but it's not a concrete decision, right? It's a different thing. So if we're gray about a decision to ourselves, that's basically choosing to not decide, to not fully commit to what you're intending to do. It's saying that you're going to do your best, but if something happens and I change my mind, we'll see what it is. It is what it is. It's going to happen. And so it's different. Those are different ways to approach your system in terms of how you're going to execute. And I would say that decision is definitely different from motivation, right? Because motivation is something that can fluctuate. It will change given the time of day and your energy and external forces and what carry over from yesterday. But the market, she's going to do whatever she's going to do. Like your outcomes are going to be highly variable. And when you come at it, you're really motivated and ready to go, but you're not set on a system, the market is going to chew you up and spit you out more often. And so I would say that this is a sign from all the traders that I've spoken to, myself and my journey included, of when you're more new and you don't fully even know exactly what you need to fully do in order to be the best trader you can, versus a professional trader that's been 10, 20 years in the game. Professional traders are a lot more black and white with certain rules, and they're just non-negotiables. There is a line in the sand for them about what they will accept and what they won't in their trading, and that creates a protective system that then has the capability to compound over time. And I would say that motivation is really helpful for early traders because you have to be motivated to sustain, right? You have to want to gain the data and get the information and come back time after time. And you're going to take more losses earlier in your career, and you have to be motivated to try and come back and learn from them. But in terms of your system and your outcomes and your choices, it's less reliable. And so the markets are going to be neutral to how you feel and relentless in terms of there's going to be opportunities and there's going to be negative outcomes. There's going to be price action relentlessly. And so if you can be, really intentional with your decision, you'll be safer. But if you're more wishy-washy and gray, it could be that you just become the liquidity by being floppy with it. And that's how professional traders get to capitalize on that, right? Excuse me. I would say that elite traders don't want to feel disciplined. They don't want to hope that they're disciplined. Instead, it's a decision to act disciplined no matter what shows up emotionally. It's saying, no matter how I am feeling, this is how I act when I'm in the business of being a trader. I always have said risk management. I always have said leverage given certain setups. They spend a lot of time, which is something we grow into as traders, is spending that time and figuring out where you need to allocate it in terms of creating your trading system and your approach. And then dialing it in, figuring out what works, what needs to be tweaked, what setup you want to adjust, how you get in and how you scale out. And then fine tuning that over time. So that way you live and breathe that trade plan. You understand it thoroughly because you spent time creating it and fine tuning it. And then in the moments where it matters, when you are clicking your buttons, when you're entering and exiting, you have that consistency quicker. You more readily can honor that because it's so dialed in and a part of who you are. And I'm not saying, so I am a trading psychology coach here with you guys at Blue Sky, and I have a trading psychology podcast, Market Mamas. But I'm not trying to like come at it saying I'm perfect with this either. I think that's why I really enjoy these topics, because I think that there is time when we're all getting good at this. It's not a black and white situation where you are either wishy-washy and unkept, or you are rock solid and always disciplined. I think that there's a period where you're dialing this in. Oh, thanks, Justin. I think it's easy to succumb to less than ideal habits. And when we experience those less than ideal habits, you feel that, right? I feel that. And the times where I have had a motivated and a plan and I wanted to like kill it with trading, but then I let my bad habits sneak in, I feel like garbage. I feel bad. I feel some regret. And what you do with that is important. You know, you can use those natural human emotional responses to making poor choices as energy to learn from and change from. And that is also something that will teach you how to adjust your system. And I think over time, speaking just for myself on this, I have gotten better at predominantly leading with my system. I need to see these certain things at these certain levels, and that's what will get me into a trade. And so that is sort of how I want to talk about today, becoming the more dedicated person to making a decision and sticking to it, because I think it all feeds into that. You have to come to the realization for yourself that what I have done wrong is a pivot point where I need to adjust those choices in order to be more ideal, to change my game and level up more rapidly. And so kind of embracing what has happened, what we have done and what felt good and what had a negative outcome, and then how we can lean into the parts that are really actually powerful. So I want to give you guys some different vantage points, different takes on this from different people wiser than myself, and bring it all together in one view throughout the hour that I have you guys today. Which, side note, thank you for coming today, all of you guys. Like, I know it's a holiday week. Our schedules are weird. My kids are home. If you're a parent, you have kids mulling around too. Thank you for your time today and showing up for this class, because I love these conversations. So I'm happy to be here, and it's nice to see you all. Okay, who all has read Atomic Habits by James Clear? Throw a little comment in the charts. Yeah. I love this book. I first read it before I started trading. When aren't you? Put it in your ear, aren't you? It can Audible will read it to you. I'm just saying. But I first read this, I think 5 or 6 years ago, when I was just working on my motherhood fitness, honestly, with my gym trainer. And it was so good. There was such really powerful components in it, in creating the life that you want and getting the outcomes that you desire, letting this fuel you in terms of how you look at life. So when I became a trader, not long after that, honestly, I think it was maybe 6 months after I first read this book, that I learned about trading and I started getting into it. And then when I was deep in my trading, maybe after a year, someone said, you should read Atomic Habits. And I was like, well, I already read it. Well, I reread it as a trader, spoke to me completely differently, and really had great insights for me in terms of how I can adjust my trading once I had gotten into it and figured out basically how to lose and how to win. This book has some great tips. And look at this quote right here. Your identity emerges out of your habits. Every action is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. And this is honestly maybe top 3 best quotes that I've ever heard in my whole life, because it's so true. Like, who you become is what you do. Every action is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. So are you voting for the disciplined, reliable, respectful, honest person? Or is it, slippery and gray and a little less consistent potentially? And so every action, right? So then you have to drill down into, okay, well, if I want this dream professional millionaire trader down the line, what does that look like today? How can I break that down into what I choose to do hour to hour in my day that would create that person that I dream of becoming at some point? And so each trade that you take or you don't take, that is a part of who you are leaning into becoming as a trader. It's not really, did I win or lose this trade? Because if I have a green P&L, then I'm a consistently profitable trader. Not really. Potentially, I guess, in numbers, but more so, did I act like the trader that I've decided to be? I think is a much better question in terms of analyzing yourself in terms of where you're at. It's like a reframe, right? When we wake up and we perform our most intentional pre-market routine, and then we create our most focused trade plan and trade our plan as intended to the best of our ability, given the fluctuations and the volatility of that market. And then afterwards, we process what we did and how it went and what lessons we maybe could take from it and adjust our system. That's powerful. And each one of the little steps within that day, I mean, it could be broken down even deeper. That was 4 steps, right? Pre-market, trade plan, following it to the best, and reviewing at the end. 4 plans, but that can even be broken down into, 25 actions in a given day at a minimum. Serious, if you want to be like a really serious trader where each action matters, that's something to think about throughout your day, because those actions do compound and they lead to your outcome. And so they build who you are over time, over days and days and months of actions. And so you want to try and pay attention to that and realize that some actions you take are less than ideal and some are really ideal. Some really will help cement in you who you ought to try to be in order to have the most ideal outcomes. And so every time that you maybe sleep in and decide to skip your pre-market system and still trade, when you miss a move and you decide to chase it instead of waiting for the next setup, even though that's not your plan, every time you get in and it goes against you, and instead of taking the stop hit, you dollar cost average against your plan, not a great habit. Every time you skip your trade plan or a lesson with your mentor, say you want to, for example, come to these labs with Matt and I on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you decided to just take a nap or whatever, but over time, they actually build you up. When you know that there are choices that make you better and choices that feed the impulsive emotional side of you, each one that you do is a part of creating who you're becoming. So it creates the trader that is ultimately your future. And so our actions really are those votes for who our future trader is going to be. And if we still allow some of the whole mix of it, right, the positive and the negative ones, then we're going to continue to have that mixed outcome for a long time. But if you can slowly shift and lean into the ones that are more positive, that sets your trajectory to getting to that ideal optimized trader faster, because it puts you on the track record that leans you upward, if you break it down and you think about how each action really is starting to put you on a path, and one goes uphill to the beautiful mansion on the top with the pool and the palm trees, and one goes downhill to the shack that doesn't have running water, like which path, you know what I mean? Like which steps is what would maybe get you there faster. So I kind of love that. For me, is an important way to try and think about what I'm doing each day. Identity, then, if you think about it in a different view of that same conversation, identity precedes consistency. So if you think about it this way, where behavior follows identity, identity follows decisions, consistency follows alignment. So let me explain. I like the idea of you don't become disciplined by being disciplined, but it's more so you decide. This is why I love the concept of decision, because you can be more disciplined by deciding, I need to be disciplined. I know that when I am disciplined, I get better outcomes. So that decision point where you're saying, I am a trader who follows my plan, the next day your trading session is going to start, right? And so coming into that next trading session, having decided that you are a trader that follows your plan, it helps you lean more so into the executions that are just the proof of your identity. So it's a reframe, so much so that you basically work from the front back in this type of approach. You don't necessarily have the outcomes that you desire until you decide and commit to the choices that lead there. Yeah. You fail enough times, you realize what choices you make that set you up for less than ideal outcomes. And then you figure out which ones lead you in the right direction. And then you consciously make decisions that lean into the actions that breed the good results. And so saying beforehand, I know that when I do XYZ, I get the better outcome. So tomorrow, when the market opens, XYZ is the priority. I am doing it. That is what I have decided. It's not a perfect science, right? We're humans, but coming at it more consistently, decided in your mind, will set you up for a more powerful stance to approach the whole day. It does help you lead you down the right path quicker, because you're trying to essentially call that identity into the now by saying, this is who I am, this is where I'm headed, this is the trader I'm becoming. So then today I'm going to do these things because that's the reality that I am pushing towards. It's a good way of thinking about it for me. Yeah. Okay. So Mark Minervini, is another author that I really, really love. He wrote the book. oh gosh, I don't want to say it not wrong now that I'm thinking. Mindsets, winning secrets. Oh gosh, where did I type it? Mindsets for winning. I moved it. Oh, there it is. Mindset secrets for winning. I'm sorry, guys. I have my notes on the side. So he wrote the book Mindset Secrets for Winning, and he is a trader who struggled and then found incredible success. And so his book is from like life projections, experiences, but then also dialed into the trader experience. But it's so good. It's one of my favorite books. And so he really emphasizes commitment over comfort. And this is one of the quotes from the book: "You must commit to doing the right thing, even when it feels uncomfortable." And there was a whole chapter in that book about decision, which I honestly, I love Audible. I consume a lot of books on Audible because I like to listen to them on my ear when I'm parenting or driving or whatever. I can get through more content using reading my books, having someone else read my books to me. So anyways, the chapter of that book on decision, I probably listened to 10 times because it really, it's kind of the heart of this episode, honestly, with you guys, this lab, because deciding really can be a changing point for you. It's committing, even though it's going to be uncomfortable, and you know that it's not your go-to. More easily you would take an easier path, right? But committing and deciding is more powerful. The market, I would say, constantly, honestly, invites you to abandon discipline, right? There's energy, there's emotions behind it. You don't want to lose, and so there's energy to try and move your stop loss, to oversize, to over leverage, to let greed want to hold it longer, or to chase a move, or to revenge trade because you see the money start moving. You see your accounts going from green to red to green to red, and it starts to poke at you. Like that I think is the heart of why trading is really hard, because in that moment the money starts to fly. Your brain tries to flip out of logical and into the emotional, like fight or flight mode, where you can really make challenging decisions, poor decisions for your outcomes so freaking easily. Like it's so easy. So I think that this whole topic is helpful because trying to create it in your mind where you have a hard decision on who you want to be can be anchoring. It can be like, I really want to do this, but I was really decided on not doing this. So if I could just get a little space and remember my decisions, maybe I can lean into that. And so when this author covered decisions in his book, there were so many different angles and experiences that he puts into it. And it really reinforced it for me, because it's the whole idea of, for me, how I internalize it, that most humans, including myself, I'm going to be real with you, like most humans, we half-ass things, right? We say we're going to do something, be somewhere, follow a strict diet, a strict sleep schedule, a workout routine, daily trading loss limit. But then on day 3, we're snacking and snoozing and picking a movie over a workout, or trading like a lunatic on tilt because we didn't sleep and we're kind of feeling any kind of way. Like there's some human nature in why trading is so hard. And I experienced that myself for sure, more so in my earlier years, but it's not fully washed out of my system because our brains are complex, and the emotions and the hormones are a very real thing that have to be respected and managed. And so, but this, I feel like the energy behind really thinking about your decision on who you're going to be, it can help you change that a little bit. And so, I mean, I think admitting that maybe you also potentially are someone who has dabbled in gray areas of choices as well. That could be part of a struggle in terms of trading. It could be part of having slip ups a little bit more often. And so for myself, I had to face, my mirror, like myself in the mirror, literally, like, when I do this, it doesn't feel good and it doesn't get me the outcomes that I want. So how can I push past this? And so, Mark really, in this book, actually, he literally says, relating to trading, that after years of mediocre trading for him, he said, I can't remember, it's been a minute, but years of trading where he was like break even and doing okay and have wins, but then he would give it all back. He said that there was a point where he really dug in, I think it was around when his dad died, that he had to decide. And so he saw the reason that he was not yet significantly, consistently profitable. And it was because for him, he had really loose risk management. He was dabbling in the gray area of being committed to his rules. And so he like fully admitted that to himself, observed it, called himself out, like journaled it, faced it, said it out loud. And then once and for all, he was like no more. Like, I am doing this risk management. That is it. That is the only way that I'm going to manage my risk. The end, period. I don't even care anymore. I'm not doing it. And then he skyrocketed to success. He was like, the story was wild. I didn't even know this was a thing. Maybe you guys do and I don't, but there's a US investing championship. And I think it was in the 90s that he, like the year after he decided to seriously lock into his rules, he became the champion for the following year of this investing competition. And I'm like, the way that he says, like, I have been a struggling trader for a long chunk of time. And then I got freaking real with myself. And then everything just changed. It's like, if you can hear that enough times to say that this is a really powerful concept, it can sink in, right? It's such a good point. And I think all of you here really care about your trading, or you wouldn't be here on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. And so we know how to make a good trade. We have an edge with our market that we can execute on, and we know what a good trade feels like. And we understand risk management, I would argue, because we all, when you learn trading, you learn that you have to have a stop loss and a reasonable place to put it based on your account size and the trade setup. So then we have to think about, what's the next step? What do we have to shift in order to consistently get profits? And I think that this idea of having a decision to really respect our personal trading system and allow our rules to drive it, that we have decided, we've made our own for our account size, for our leverage size, for our accounts. I think that is so powerful. To rise without so much interruption, right? Without interrupting our own success, without holding ourselves back, without bringing ourselves back, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, whatever. And so when I read this book, it really haunted me. I think that's why I reread it a couple of times, because I wanted it to haunt me deeper. I wanted it to change me and to hear the undeniable truth in the fact that when I don't get my outcomes, it's not really my system, because if I stop when I don't see the market clearly, my accounts are fine. And another day I will see a killer setup and I can make 3x easily my risk limit that was for the day before, when I just wasn't feeling it. I couldn't see it. I didn't nail it right away. And knowing that about my trading system, just do it, right? There's an energy of just do it. And so I would say that reframe is where I want to emphasize today. The discipline is decided in advance. And so when you have a trading system, which I encourage you all to have, if you don't, if you're still learning, if you haven't really taken the time to specifically write it out, I think that is a powerful process of knowing what your trading setups are, what they look like, and then choose your risk before, knowing that if I'm taking this breakout trade, this is how on this instrument with this position size, I manage my risk. This is the max that my accounts can hold. Then you really are committed to it. That is non-negotiable for you. You don't debate your risk when you're putting on the trade. This is not for debate. You decide on your risk before the trade even exists. Before you even trade, you say, I'm getting in at this level for this reason. This is what is going to happen. Either the stop loss is taken for this, or it's not. And so it's not a suggestion really in that moment. It's a decision that has already been made. And so viewing it in that way, there isn't gray, right? That your trade doesn't have a gray choice. It has its profit or loss. And then you can also, of course, choose to bring up your stop when your target starts moving your direction. It's not necessarily a profit target or a stop loss, but your trade is managed in the way that your trade system defines it. And so that reframing your mind to make it non-negotiable in terms of trade management is how you can break it down into the daily actions to not allow in that gray area of your emotional thoughts on adding size potentially or adjusting and taking on more risk. It's just not a non-negotiable kind of, So I think we've talked before in another lesson about confidence and how to build that. And so I think that this decision is really good for that. And I think you want to be confident and be able to trust yourself in order to be a trader, to put on size and to elevate your trading in terms of your risk over time, your compounding success rate. You have to be able to grow your confidence as a trader in order to grow your outcomes and be able to trade copy and then eventually start adding a contract over time. And so to get to that confidence place, you have to have some trust in yourself, knowing that you're going to do the right thing when it all comes down to, brass tacks, right? And so confidence, I would argue, doesn't really come from winning. More so it comes from keeping your word to yourself, honoring your intentions, doing the work behind creating your plan, and then sticking to it. Following that plan, it basically, you're putting deposits over time into your self-trust and reasonable confidence, not an overconfidence, but reasonable, because you say, I'm going to be this trader. When you are that trader day over day, it builds that up in you. It's the proof that you are it. Whereas the flip side of that, every time you break it, you withdraw from that. If you're thinking about like a bank account, a good trading day where you followed your system is a deposit for that trader that you want to be. And a day where you don't follow it is a withdrawal, and it kind of takes you a step back. And so it's kind of a visual of like what it means and the purpose behind following your system. And in that way, it's not any sort of like hyped up energy. It's a natural confidence that underpins who you're becoming as a trader, because it stems from a literal factual accounting of who you are as a trader, how you behaved day over day, month over month. It's not based on affirmations or hyping ourselves up or saying I'm a great trader and I am going to make 7 figures this year. It's not, you're not putting that out saying that is who you are. Instead, it's like, I have a track record that I'm this trader. And so like, I'm going to get the outcomes. Like, I feel good about taking these trades because this is what my information shows me. And so sticking to your rules essentially shapes you into the person that you can trust to follow it day over day. And then the benefits just come. They just roll in because your account grows based on the probabilities of a positive expectancy from your trading system. And so then over time, everything sort of goes in the right direction. You head up the path that you have defined and chosen to follow. And it can really lead you a little bit quicker even to where you're trying to go. And so, right, like, we have to think about the trader that we're becoming. Who are we deciding to be? Is it going to be, the emotional, reactive, we'll see how it goes, intuitive, discretionary, fully, or is it really choosing to make it your profession? So it's more so not what is the setup and how can I get a good outcome from this? More so, what is my trade plan and how am I managing it per my system? And so your results are shaped by the trader that you're being. And so by the way that you decide to execute your trading plan, not necessarily the opportunities or if you grabbed a great trade, so then you're a great trader. It's like, on other social medias, there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of BS. There's people who say, we'll throw up $100,000 P&L for a day. And it's like, that is not necessarily who they are as a trader. That is one outcome, potentially. It's not, it could be a lucky landfall, but I would say I wouldn't trust that necessarily. I would want to know the backstory of who you are. What's your consistency rate? How did you get to a place where you could take the leverage that resulted in that outcome? Like for me, the appreciation and the impressiveness of the trader is not one P&L, nor should it be for you in your innermost conversations with yourself. More so like, am I creating and following a plan that is going to consistently be able to grow as a human and who I want to be as a trader? That is much more for me. And I think it's a more powerful approach to who you want to be long term as a trader. So I talked earlier briefly about having a trade plan written out, and I love thinking about it as a decision document, right? And so you basically say, these are the setups that I understand and that I frequently see in my trading instruments. Say you trade ES or NQ. Within that instrument, within a given time frame, within your time frame that you trade on, you see these certain setups. Well, when that setup presents, what is your entry criteria? What do you need to see in order to get into a trade? And then what break of what means you're in it. And then in that situation, based on your leverage, what's your risk parameters and how do you manage that trade? And then what invalidates the trade for you? If you think something is setting up, not just jumping before you see it, but saying, if I need to see these certain things in my data and then I'm in, if I don't see these certain things, then that trade plan is invalidated. And that's part of your trade plan too, because it's sort of the flip side of like, in a perfect trade, it will do this and this will happen. But if I think it's going to do this and then do something else, that is something to also consider and sort of have like a contingency plan. So you do have this technical setup, but after you write this technical setup, then you choose to respect it like a psychological contract, like your strategic business plan as a trader. It's like saying specifically, I'm going to honor this, and this is my decision to say, I see these setups in this way. This is how I want to capitalize on them and manage them. So you decide in your mind, I believe in the system, I believe in myself, I think that this is going to work over time. And if it doesn't, it's going to give me data at the very least that I can adjust it and improve it and get better with it, which is every trade plan is never just one addition, right? It's always you start somewhere, you get more data, and you improve it over time. So that should be a living document that you change and grow with. But honoring it in the moment with where it's at, with your understanding of market movement and the best way that you can execute on it should be what you promise to yourself to do. And that will help you have less emotions, which is the whole idea behind deciding to follow a rule, a plan, is to cut out the emotional, impulsive choices in that time. And so I don't want to make anyone feel any kind of bad when we break our rules, because I would argue to say every single person in this room has broken the rules as much as they maybe have decided that they want to not follow it. We're all humans. There's no bots here. So what I'm saying, I have also faced this myself, in the quietest moments alone with myself, I have addressed this for me. And it's part of the mindset focus that I work through with my approach and saying, this gets me the best setup. So I want to remember every day, every trade plan, every pre-market hypothesis that I create, that this is the ideal outcome. So then I want to write it out and follow it. When I do, I generally enjoy my outcomes more so. And when I'm looser with them, it can go any kind of way. And so that's something to know that most traders, all traders are not perfect, but to constantly keep the focus on the sentiment, I think. And you'll notice over time that you get the more consistent outcomes. Statistically, that's just kind of factual. So what about the human factor, right? So when we break our rules, why? Because if we think about why, then we can help target not doing them. So there's a fear of loss, of losing the trade, a fear of it taking off without us and we're not on the train. And so then maybe that was the best train of the day. And so you're going to miss out. Or you just really want to be right. You want to be able to lock in some money and be the winning trader that you dream of. And so those are emotions. And decisions can break under the emotional pressure when you're not deeply, deeply committed to the logical plan. We don't rise to our best days of discipline, our best ideal optimal days. That's not necessarily who we are. More so, I would say we fall to the level of our unmade decisions. Your overall end game outcomes will be more a result of the gray days than the best days, because those will pull down. You can have 5 days of good days, and the one day where your effort mode comes in and takes over, that's going to be the trader that you are more so forming. And so that is the trader that we need to target shushing that. They need to be shushed. They need to be told that they cannot play. They cannot be the trader. If you have emotional moments in your life, different emotional triggers, parenting is a prime example of that, of being emotionally triggered sometimes, deal with that as you should. But in your trading business, we can lock into a decision-based system, when we're fully committed, it's different. But if you're less committed, any game can play. Allowing a little bit of discretion in is such a slippery slope, because the markets are going to be relentless. And Miss Market will take all of your money and send you into a margin call if she can, when you are messing around with your rules. That's sort of just what happens in trading. We all know the statistics that a lot of traders burn out. And I think that that's because if you have these big days that blow out the progress that you really tried freaking hard to build up, and then it's taken out on a day of just being an unregulated human in that moment, that is real pain. I would say that is real pain. And that is the potential of this. And so that's why we want to target what we can do. Yeah, it's a very real thing of it's easy. It's so easy that it's, so we have to figure out how to target this, how to say, I'm not willing to have these really hard days because I just want this too bad. And I work too hard on a lot of days in order to have it wipe out. So that's why we're here today. One more quote from James Clear, the Atomic Habits book that I mentioned earlier. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems, which this is probably his most common quote that is out there in the world, because there's a lot of realism in it. your system protects your decisions, and rules remove emotional negotiation that you could entertain. Structure will reduce your emotional interference by having a clearly delineated system that is non-negotiable for you will get you a certain set of outcomes. But a gray area will get you any kind of thing. Willpower is really not the strategy. And if we think about it like this, because systems will hold you together, will frame it up, will give you a logical solution, a choice, an action that you have studied and you know how to take. But willpower and trying to do the best you can is just does not have a positive expectancy. So I really, if you guys haven't been with me before, I really want to break down something every Tuesday discussions into something actionable. And so this is where I think the core of this kind of drills it down. And so I think we want to make your clearly delineated system your powerful tool that you don't underestimate, that you trust and respect and believe in and constantly live with and modify. And that is how you deal with your trade setups, what your ideal entries are and how you're going to manage them, how you're going to get in and get out of it and lock it down. Because when you take as much guesswork as you can out of it, that does eliminate the emotions that are going to be a factor. And so I love this whole idea of decide once and then execute daily. And so you can approach your whole system as a trader of this trade plan being the core system behind what you do when you get to your charts. And so you decide how you want to approach your pre-market approach, your system, your hypothesis, the plan that you make on what trade you want to capitalize on. And that will help cut out the in the moment choices that you have to make. And so then the emotional leakage is not really a thing because it's not a factor. It doesn't create your trade plan. What hunches that you have do not create your trade plan. And so by cutting out in the moment, you make it cleaner. The fewer decisions that you make during your trade hours, the better. You decide ahead of time what your max trades are for the day, what your max risk is for the day. The conditions that you might see that are not tradable, that you don't entertain. You don't want to put risk on if you don't see certain setups. Those are choices. And so when the day comes, when your trading session opens, you just execute per that plan. It simplifies it. You know what you need to see in what time frame and what market context, what size you want to use when you see it. And so you have this based on your data and from the instructions and the instrument that you have studied, and then you put into your trade plan, because then it's like a career professional choice. You just follow that strategy. And so before your training session starts, that's when you want to really remind yourself and be focused on what exactly you're looking for before you start to see it. And so when we speak to this, think about adjusting your language around it. Instead of saying, I can't do this, say, I don't do it. I am a trader who, so I don't revenge trade is an identity. That's who you are as a trader. I don't revenge trade. I don't chase it. But instead, I can't revenge trade because it doesn't work out for me. It's a softer approach. It's less consistent, delineated, solid. I try not to revenge trade. That implies flexibility of sometimes it happens. Oops, I'm human. Sure. But if you can really get it in your mind of, I don't revenge trade, I don't. And those words in your subconscious, in an audio that you record for yourself, for example, those words will reinforce your decision, because how we speak to ourselves out loud and within our subconscious, it does shape our identity, and that shapes our actions. Because if you are a trader who does not revenge trade, then you don't. And so we want to always try and think about, that's why I come to labs like this, because this is a tool. If you can choose your words carefully, and then those are the words that you hear, those are the words that you say to yourself, those are written in your trade plan that you review daily, nightly, weekly, whatever works for you in terms of that review. Have the words phrased so that it's concrete in the identity that you know that you need to be to get the outcomes. And so when you dig into these systems and the rules and the words that you want to say, put that everywhere. Have visual rules. I'm talking Post-it notes. I'm going to nerd out on you guys for a minute and say, put it everywhere. Put it in your face. Put Post-it notes on your monitor. Put them on your mirror in your bathroom. Have a checklist that you go through in the morning where you remind yourself, oh my gosh, my thing just reset, where you remind yourself of who you are when you trade, of what you're going to do in your pre-market plan, of your checklist for what you need to see for your trade setup before this trade sets up, and then your risk reminders. And so having those reminders around you in your environment will help support you in remembering that you have made these decisions, that you have your set risk limits. Like in the Blue Sky system, you can program in your max daily loss and your max daily win, have those visible, review your checklist, review your rules, have them in your face so that it's in the forefront of your mind. It removes some friction. It makes it easier and more obvious that we have decided this. It's reminders. That way, if we ever start to slide in the wrong direction, maybe you can just glance at something. Just say, if I'm feeling this kind of way, I just read these words in the moment. It can help a little bit. It won't always work. It's not a fail safe automatically in that way, but it helps. Every little step that we can make to bring us quicker back to the remembrance that we have decided to be this person, it's going to make it a little bit easier to actually be that person. When this happens, when you are pushing through this period, I would say to expect emotional resistance, because it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be a shift if this is something that you've been working through. It's going to be honestly boring. Like trading your system without flexibility is going to be more boring. And that's good in terms of trading. Like you don't want to be like, crazy, wild, wild west. I just shoot at anything that moves. That's got some higher energy to it, but that's not really the ideal intention with your trading. But disciplined trading only when you see certain setups at your levels with these validating corresponding data, that's the only thing that I need to see to entertain a trade. That is a lot of waiting. That's a lot of patience. It's a little bit boring in the in-between. It's a lot of holding yourself back. It's a lot of not touching your mouse. It can feel restrictive. It's going to feel uncomfortable. And I would say that discomfort means that you're probably doing it right. It means that you're pushing against habits and energies that you have entertained that weren't serving you. And so you're pulling back away from those things that are easier and more fun. But that discomfort is probably going to make you a better trader. I think the human brain prefers novelty and dopamine. Like someone said that just in the live stream earlier today of like, is it fun? Like if it's fun, I want to do it. I get that. Like I'm a human. Fun is fun. But in trading, chasing the highs and then fighting back when it doesn't go your way, that's dangerous. It's dangerous for your accounts. You're seeking the activity, the excitement, the action, but that necessarily will not always get you the P&L that you desire. There's going to be some hot days where you just are shooting at anything that moves, and anything that moves is green because you're just in sync and it's going well. But when you feed that demon inside you, those actions are going to come out rapidly. And sometimes you're going to start shooting anything that moves and your account's going to go red and then deeper red and then bloody red. And that's going to suck. So a positive expectancy trading system prefers decision and consistency, calm and focus, and purposeful action in the most ideal circumstances. It is boring. It is rule following. It is specific. It has journaling after the fact so that you can have the data and fine tune your system over time. That is a disciplined, systemized trading approach. And the statistics are out there that this is the most profitable approach to trading pretty much always. In fact, I did a lab just a week or two ago about discretionary versus systematic trading, where I actually dug into the facts that have been studied amongst traders. And having a systemized approach was always more profitable when it came down to numbers of the data that they had. And so that fits again here with this decision on what you're going to do when you get to your trading system. So I do love the idea of having a decision audit when you're really dialing in your trading plan and who you're going to be as a trader. And so to think about it in a certain way, not necessarily did the trade win or lose, but also did I follow my rules? Did I honor the risk allotted by my system? Did I have a green day because I threw 10 contracts when someone said buy? Or did I have a green day because I waited for my best setup and then I executed per my system? I scaled where I needed to. I managed my risk when the trade started moving. what did I do? What were my actions? Was I in alignment with the decisions that I made per my system and who I want to be? And so addressing those things when we think about our day is powerful. You want to review your decisions, but not wholly just your P&L. Am I adhering to my system? Did I take the actions that correlate to the outcomes based on my system? And so I think that if you read or learn about elite traders, this is a common thread through them, is that they pay attention to every single trade, and they want to really make sure they're only doing the best ones, and that's making them stronger over time. So did I keep my word to myself? And then get into your answers a little bit more there. What did that look like? Face it to yourself. And then consider the idea of it not to be hard on yourself if you had a less than ideal day, but more so like, why did I do that? Like, what was it in me that made it okay to take that second or third or fifth trade? Wasn't necessarily my data, because if you look at it and you're reviewing it and you say that is not even a setup that exists in my trade plan, so why was I in that move? It's not meant to belittle yourself, because that will never ever make you better. Having negative feelings about who you are. More so it's like, what happened? What was I feeling? How could I cut that off sooner? What was a point at which I made the poor choice? How can I fix that moment? And adjust my system. And so you want to make it actionable and a lesson, but not necessarily any kind of a negative vibe, but more so, I would like to do better tomorrow. So at what point today could I have done differently, and how can I think about that to do it differently maybe tomorrow? And then you can double down on your best decisions. When you've had a great day, the journaling will likely take a little less time, but then double down on that. Say, I followed my system and I freaking love this day. Like, I love how I got in and how I scaled and how I managed it. And I love my P&L, and I want to do this every day of my whole life. Well, what did you do? How did you get to that? Did you have a killer pre-market? Did you have patience? Did you step back from your computer when the trade wasn't there? Did you set an alert and walk away, and you came back only when the alert went off? Like, think about that too, because those are repeatable patterns that you want to do, right? Like, let's do the things that are working. And then during this period while you're growing, I would encourage you guys to separate the outcome from your identity. A loss doesn't mean that you're failing, but rule following can mean that you're being really successful as the trader that you're growing into, and allow the consistency to compound. A losing trade taken correctly is a successful decision, and a winning trade taken impulsively is a long-term failure outcome risk. And that's not necessarily intuitive for early traders, but it's something to dial in as a priority to help decrease your emotional swings. And so the highs should feel like business as usual. They should take them down. Like, your highs shouldn't be quite so high, because you're having successful days because you're a consistently profitable trader who has a killer system. Like, think about it that way. Like, I'm not feeling over the top of the moon and I want to celebrate with a bottle of champagne because I had a big day. More so like, I had a big day because my system is good and I follow my trade plan. And the next thing I'm going to do it too. Keep it a little bit more neutral. And that way you can help neutralize out the lows too. And the lows, when you have a hard day, shouldn't be like, I'm a crap trader and I'm never going to get this. What the heck is wrong with me? More so like, that wasn't great. What can I learn? Because I would rather do better next time. Bringing the lows up a little bit too, and allowing them to just be a lesson. Think about them, write your notes, because that helps grow you, and then shut it down for the day. Yeah, being on your laptop can be too much. So I love the idea of creating your identity not based on your P&L, but more so, did you adhere to your trading system? And so one more, I think I might go a few minutes over today, guys. I'm sorry, but this is my last actionable choice of how we can approach this all. And this comes from James Clear's Atomic Habits as well. This is his 4 laws of behavioral change. So when you're doing it, oh, good, thank you. If anyone has to go, seriously, I get it. But I'm going to dig into this last one here and then round it out is my plan. So thanks, guys. Okay, so the 4 laws of behavioral change on how we can really break this down is to, 1, make it obvious, then make it attractive, then make it easy, and make it satisfying. So this is how we reframe the dopamine hits that we're feeding our brain, how we adjust our whole system in order to make it a great experience of following your trading system. So these are 4 laws that you can apply to your trading habits to make it feel really powerful for you as a trader you're becoming. So make it obvious, which means having a clearly delineated trade plan, writing down, this is my trade setup, this is how I manage it, this is my max loss in a day, and then having it written in your trade plan, which is a more comprehensive document. And then you can have a sticky note or checklist morning of that just is the highlights in a bulleted point, so it's quicker. But have it obvious, like it's not up for debate. It's not gray or discretionary. It's, I like this setup and this is what I'm going to do with it. So that's how you make it obvious. Make it attractive is temptation bundling. So when I follow this system, like I'll have more time in my day, I'll be able to fit in this workout and do this other thing. And when I follow my trade plan, I get to talk about it with my mentor or my person. And it feels really good when I do this kind of thing, because this is what happens afterwards. I have this much more free time in my account. I've locked in the trade and it's grown in this sort of way and it's aiming towards this sort of payout. Think about all the positives of following your trade plan, whatever that looks like for you. And then make it easy. So this can't be some complicated thing. Like making your trade plan, if you haven't already, it's a bit of an undertaking, and it should be, because this is basically your business plan on being a profitable trader. So there's going to be some startup to this if you're newer to a trade plan. But in the day-to-day, after you've got that kind of dialed in, make it easy, make it quick, make it functional. Because if it's this long, complicated routine where you need a full hour to do 20 steps before you start trading, that's not easy. And you're going to have a higher risk of messing it up and not honoring it. And so dial it into your most functional habits. Like I also did a lab on pre-market routine. In that, I outlined 10 different things that you can do in the morning to set yourself up for success. Don't do all 10 of them. I'm telling you right now, don't do all 10 of them. Find the 3 or 4, 2 or 3, whatever, that set you up the best way, that create your best psychology, and then fit those into your pre-market routine. And then have your trade plan locked down into a short bullet list of exactly what you need to do as a quick reminder. Do the pre-market things that settle your fight or flight, that settle your body, that settle your breathing and your focus. Remind yourself of your trade plan. Have a template that you write out your trade plan and your hypothesis that is not long and dramatic, but is quick, shorthand in a way that speaks to you. Use the lingo and the short, the abbreviations that speak to you, so that it's easy, so that it's not complicated, so that it's fast. It doesn't feel like a chore. It feels like I'm going to go through these things because I feel good afterwards. I feel ready, and I want to feel ready to kill it on my day. And then make it satisfying. Make it feel good at the end. Like track your discipline score. Like have part of your journaling system at the end saying, did I follow my plan? Not necessarily just the P&L. And then have some sort of a little like positive thing that you get to do to reward yourself for sticking to the plan. And this is different for everyone as well. What brings you a little hit of joy in terms of just who you are as a person? Is it fresh air? Is it a phone call to a friend? Is it, I don't know, whatever. I don't want to get into too much of what people like to do that makes them feel good outside of training, but have something at the end of the day where you just did it. You just handled your day and you feel great about it. Have that be a part of the end of your day. And even that can even be on a day where you took a lesson. When you journal it out and be like, my day is red and I want to do this differently and I'm adjusting my trade plan. I'm going to think about this and talk about this with my mentor. That is a successful outcome of your day too. So have something at the end where you sort of give yourself a little reward for doing what you need to do, to putting that vote in, essentially having that day be the vote for who you're going to be. And then that is a win to celebrate and have the satisfying moment at the end. Oh, there's one more tip. Okay. So the decision statement, trader decision is, this is again, how you word it. This is the language of what you want to tell yourself. I am a trader who follows my plan, honors my risks, respects my capital, as just an example. So this is powerful to write out your trader decision statement. Read it before, during, after your sessions. You can even put it in audio and listen to it during idle time or before you go to bed, saying not long, not dramatic, but focus, concrete, and speak to you. Ingrain it into your subconscious mind. And then even like say it all the time. Like your closest person should know your trading decision statement because they hear it, they see it, they read the Post-it note about it on your mirror. But if you can flood your neurons with the decision of who you're going to be, you will be that person more consistently. That's the whole point of this, is flood your system, flood your life, your environment, your brain with a decision of who you are. And then let that come to fruition. Let the actions happen intraday of who you're going to be. And so then the outcomes will just come to you. So a couple just examples, right? I am a disciplined trader who executes my plan regardless of the outcome. Also, I only enter trades that meet my trade plan criteria, and I always honor my protective size and risk parameters. This is who I am. It becomes a compass. When your emotions rise, you return to your consistent decision, not any sort of emotional feeling. And then also on this, tell your closest people. I have recommended, and I have an accountability partner myself, have someone that is your person that you can say, this is who I want to be. I am this person. This is the trader that I am. This is my statement. If I'm ever not that person, I want to talk to you about it. I want to say, I messed up. This is who I want to be. Like, just get it off your chest and have them help remind you of who you are. That can be really supportive to have someone that is in on your secret, you know, like you don't need to discuss this with your favorite gas station attendant or whatever, but like your closest people, let them know your decision statement on who you are. And that will help you be more accountable to being that person day over day too. Because when you check in, that can be a part of the check-in. Thank you guys for being with me today. And I think decision is an edge. I really, really do. I think it was for me. I think when I read it in Atomic Habits and Mindset Secrets for Winning, it really spoke out to me of it can be a way to manage your system really effectively, of like saying, I'm not gray anymore. Like I don't want to give away my profits anymore. I don't want to revenge trade anymore. So I'm not going to. I am not a trader who revenge trades. I am a trader who executes per my system every day. And that is rare in trading because it's hard. It's uncomfortable to dig into that and make it happen. Real life, time over time, but it's worth it. And so I would just say, as a recap of this day, to delineate your trade plan and your rules, and then decide with intention on every item, and then remind yourself and execute. I think that it's an important topic, and I really wanted to do it as we approach this new year because it can be a decision point. It can be I have learned a tremendous amount and had some great days and some crap days in 2025. And I liked the great days. I like what I did that day. I like who I was. I like when I followed my trade plan. I'm going to be that person. I am that trader. I am a trader who follows my trade plan. I don't do my worst habit. I'm going to like slay this year by deciding that this is my trade plan and this is the trader that I am. So I think that that is the energy that I am approaching this year with. And I would encourage you guys to sort of think about it after the fact, after I'm done yammering for an hour at you guys, and just let it sink in a little bit deeper on how you can frame this for you and make it your own, and then flood your brain with it, flood your system with it, tell your people, and let that identity come out in your day-to-day actions. That's what I got. That's what I got from my day. Thank you guys for being here with me. It was fun. It was a good topic. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I think psychology is really important. Honestly, every time I put these labs together, like I enjoy it. I enjoy thinking about it and putting it together and pulling the resources that gave me the idea and helped me figure out what might help. So, oh my gosh, Trader Anonymous is... Keith, you're on my team. I get it. It happens. It happens easily. So then reframe your decision to that you're not an overtrader anymore. You don't overtrade. Right? Write it out. Write it out. I just try it. Just write it out. Write that I don't overtrade. And I take 3 trades a day or whatever your system is. And then put it somewhere and think about it every single day. I'm going to check back on you, Bay Fisherman. Keith, we're going to talk about this. Thank you guys. Really, thank you so much for being here with me. And, you know, we got a little bit more holiday in this season right now. We've got the next New Year's Eve tomorrow and New Year's Day. And so tomorrow's a half day for the market, and then no trading on Thursday in observance of the new year. So I really just wish you guys the best holiday celebrations and a killer new year. I think, you know, think about your goals, think about who you're going to be, and then decide to be that person. All right, you guys, I'm gonna let you go. We can get on with our Tuesday evenings. Thank you so much for being here, and Happy New Year, everyone. And thanks for being part of Blue Sky. I really like Blue Sky. I know I've only been here maybe 3 months-ish, but I really think there's good energy here, and I'm really happy to be your psychology coach here with you guys every Tuesday afternoon. And on behalf of all of Blue Sky, I think I might be the last stream of 2026. What a privilege. So on behalf of Blue Sky, thank you guys and have a great 2026, and I'll see you on the flip side.